welcome back to Onyx Recaps. Today we will talk about the movie Symbol released in 2009. But before starting that, a Japanese man wakes up in a completely white room with no doors or windows and no clear ceiling. He is wearing colorful pajamas. When he gets closer to the wall, he sees a strange thing that looks like a male organ sticking out of it. He touches it, and suddenly, lots of little baby angels appear from the floor and walls, making him laugh. They disappear quickly, leaving something behind. After the baby angels disappear, the man sees that lots of male organs are sticking out of the wall and floor. He sniffs the finger he used to touch the weird button and gets scared. He cries out for help, but nobody comes. So, he starts pressing different buttons to see what will happen. Each time he presses a button, a random object falls into the room, like a toothbrush or a big face. He keeps pressing one button and gets a big pile of chopsticks. However, his amusement doesn't last long. When the man presses the button next to the chopstick button, a small cart comes out of the wall and hits him on the legs. When he presses another button, it turns into a bug that farts his face, making him cry out in pain. After many hours, he collected many random objects in the room. When he throws a ball at the wall, it presses a button that gives him sushi, but he's missing soy sauce, which makes him sad. The man asks for soy sauce from his captors, but he gets no answer. So, he keeps pressing one button until he gets a bunch of sushi, but there's still no soy sauce. He eats the sushi and finds it delicious, but gets angry when the bottle of soy sauce finally appears after he finished eating. Presses another button, getting a pair of old-fashioned 3D glasses. The man puts on the 3D glasses and sees a baby angel pointing at his male organ, making him happy because he thinks he found the answer to his problem. However, when he presses the button related to that, he only gets a countdown and a giant butt that farts on him. Later, he receives 5 volumes of a manga that he likes, but when he presses a button to get the 6th volume, he gets the 7th instead. He keeps trying other buttons, but they give him the 8th and 9th volumes, and he still can't find the 6th. The last button remains unpressed. The man tries one button after another, hoping to find the one that opens the exit. Suddenly, he discovers a hidden door behind a section of the wall, and he celebrates this discovery. However, in his excitement, he forgets which button opens the exit. He tries one button at random and sees an African tribesman running from wall to wall, and the next button makes a waterfall fall on his head. He finally finds the button he needs, but when he runs to the open door, it closes in his face. The same thing happens on his second try. Finally, he realizes that the door stays open as long as he presses the tip of the male organ down. The man tries different ways to keep the button pressed down, such as pressing it with his foot and hitting it with a fly swatter from a distance. However, none of these methods work. He realizes he needs to find a way to keep the button down, so he tries putting a heavy base on top of it, but the button still pops back up. He decides he needs to make the object on the wall heavier, so he comes up with a plan to fill it up. At first, he tries to use the water button, but it only falls on him and not on the wall. Then he fills a vase with sushi, but it becomes too heavy to lift. He uses chopsticks to remove the sushi and manages to pick up the vase. However, he forgets which button he needs to press, so he puts down the vase on the floor. When he tries a button, the African tribesman comes out and accidentally hits the vase, causing it to break in half. The man gets frustrated when he can't find the right button and covers it with sushi, tape, and a steel plate, but the little member still pops up. He takes painkillers and a nap, and then tries to wash his teeth but presses the wrong button, causing a rope to fall from the ceiling. This gives him an idea for a new plan and improves his mood. The man swings across the room using a rope and manages to open the door. However, he finds that the door behind the fake wall is locked. When he returns to the room, the door hits him on his way out, causing him to feel frustrated. In his frustration, he kicks the wall, which activates a button that reveals a key floating in the middle of the room. However, the key disappears when the button pops out again. The man realizes that he needs to find a way to keep both the key and the door open. He chooses a button, but a dog comes out and barks. The same thing happens with the next button, but luckily the third try is successful. He keeps his eyes on a pointing hand at the button and walks backward to mark it with a piece of sushi fish. The man uses a plunger to push himself farther to reach the buttons on the wall. He swings on the rope and pushes himself with the plunger to press the right button and grab the key. Then he presses the door button and hurries to the door before it closes. The man puts the key in the lock and turns it, but the door won't open because there's another lock on top that needs a 3-digit code. He rushes out of the room and gets hit by the door. He's so angry that he throws the plunger at the wall, and this activates a button that releases the African tribesman. As the tribesman walks by, the man sees that there are 3 numbers painted on his forehead. The man swings on the rope and jumps 3 times to enter the combination. When he opens the door, it gets stuck, and he has to push it hard. The man sits on the floor and starts crying while reminiscing about the fun he had with the objects. The man had found some fun objects from the buttons, but he was locked in a small space. He realized that he had taken his freedom for granted. Suddenly, he found a hidden panel and escaped through it. He ended up in a dark hallway and ran towards an exit for what felt like a long time. When he finally made it to a room, he noticed that his hair had grown longer and his pajamas had faded. In a room, the man finds adult angels that disappear into the wall, leaving behind their body parts to be used as buttons for practice. Meanwhile, in Mexico, a wrestler known as Escargot Man is preparing for his next match. Escargot Man's daughter, Karen, picks him up in her truck and takes him to the wrestling ring to get ready. At the same time, Antonio, Escargot Man's son, is bullied by his classmates for betting on his father. Karen picks up Antonio and their grandfather to watch the match. Karen leaves and Antonio and his grandfather find seats just before the wrestling match starts. The first team to enter the ring is the Northern Tough Ones. Escargot Man and his partner, Silver Eagle, enter next as the team Kiss Me a Lot. Silver Eagle starts the fight strong, but he is soon overwhelmed when the Northern Tough Ones team up against him. Escargot Man was also overpowered quickly, but the man in the mysterious room pressed a button causing him to magically extend his neck and knock out both opponents with a headbutt. The man kept pressing the same button, and the man was curious. The man tried pressing different buttons, but nothing seemed to work. One button made a metal singer breathe fire, another button made a magician's trick fail, and a third button made a man in China bark at his dogs. Feeling hopeless, he noticed some light coming from above and realized there was no ceiling. He saw angels flying around and decided to try something different. He decides to use the buttons to climb the walls. Every time he grabs a button or steps on one, something amazing happens on Earth, like flowers blossoming or an elephant dying. As he climbs higher, the effects become more complex, including things made by humans like toasters and the moon landing. When he reaches the top, his hair and beard have grown long, and he can float like an angel. He uses his experience gained from the previous rooms to do this. He then enters a glowing portal that takes him to the last room. The last room has a map of the world on its walls, and a big button that the man is about to press. This phase is known as the future. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more recaps.